You, talented 18, are the future. Pretty cool, right?
Hey, welcome back to Too Hard, Too Fast, the podcast with strong opinions about things that we messed that up. About things that we may or may not know too much about in order to broaden perspectives. I'm going to leave that mess up in. In today's episode, we have Chef Emily Hersh. You can see her on Hell's Kitchen season 20. I think by now we might know the results, and we're going to talk about that. Yes. But with that said, thank you, Emily, for being on. I just finished eating a big old plate of food, so I'm kind of like, do I really want to talk about food right now?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm about to eat my dinner after this too, so I'm ready to talk about food. So
So you're gonna go too hard, too fast with us on an empty stomach.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be really, really hungry after this. At least I'm filling it up with wine first.
Nice. Well, guest co-hosting today is Larry Zimmerly. Thank you for being on here. Larry, how do we know each other?
We know each other in Hello World. How do we know each other? We went to college together for about 3 years. And then after one of us stayed in college and one of us didn't, I won't say which one.
Would you still know that doesn't mean it? Larry, enough about you. It's not about you. It's about Emily Hersh. So let's sit back, buckle up, and let's go too hard, too fast. Boom.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Welcome to Too Hard, Too Fast.
Too hard, too fast.
Too hard, too fast.
Too hard, too fast.
Welcome to Too Hard, Too Fast.
Hey guys, welcome back to Too Hard, Too Fast. This is Chef Emily, the vegetarian who competed to work at a steak restaurant.
Oh, I like that. I like that word.
The podcast of the century.
Right.
I found vegetarianism. That became my new passion.
When was the last time you snuck in somewhere and had a cheeseburger?
You know, after a couple, drinks, a little tipsy side of me, gets the chicken nuggets or gets the...
Emily, first question. What are you drinking?
I'm drinking a nice, cheap red wine from CVS. That's what I'm drinking today.
Oh, that's hardcore. Cheap red wine from CVS. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to review it.
Okay.
And it's usually based on like what it looks like, the cover of the bottle.
Okay. You want me to get the bottle?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm actually as long as it's in a bottle, not a box.
What's wrong with box wine?
I don't know. It gives me heartburn.
I'm not that cheap. It's actually called Menage a Trois. It's a soft red blend from California, and Menage a Trois, doesn't that usually mean 3? But there's only 2 people on here, so it's a little misleading, but it tastes really good. So that's all I care about.
And does it? I don't know. Larry made a funny face when you said that. I think Larry was thinking dirty.
I have no comments on the subject.
Larry, come on, Larry. It's your first time here, Larry. Don't mess it up.
Get your mind out the gutter.
I mean, it's hard when you live in the gutter, It's okay. I'm gonna muddle through.
All right. So based on the bottle, and based on the alcohol content versus the price and the taste, what would you rate it going 1.0 to 2 using decimals?
Okay. So I could totally cheat because my dad has introduced me to this app where you can scan the front of a wine bottle and it tells you the rating from 1 to 5. So I'm not going to use that. I'm going to do it for myself from using this app so many times. So the bottle, I'd say the label's okay. Didn't catch my eye, but the price caught my eye. So it was probably like $10. And then
the alcohol content, is it 12%, 10%?
How do I figure that out?
Probably on the bottom.
13.5%.
How much?
13.5.
Okay. That's a Too Hard, Too Fast wine.
So it's a good one.
It's a good one.
And I love red blend, so I'm always gonna rate it high. So I'd rate it probably a 1.7. Nothing to be perfect.
Right.
True. Fair enough.
That one's almost there.
I think that's fair enough, especially when it's cheap. So cheap, and if it tastes good, that's hard to find.
Yeah, especially
right, Larry.
I'm not speaking from experience.
What are you
today.
drinking, Lars?
I am drinking, for starters, a Tito's and orange juice with some pulp. The secret to a good screwdriver is some pulp. That's what I think. See, not everybody likes pulp. It's okay, though. It depends.
I thought the secret to a screwdriver is having it in the morning.
True.
I mean, it's always morning somewhere. So,
So Tito's, what would you rate it?
Tito's, oh, for me, we'll do a 1.9. I mean, Emily's right. Not anything can be perfect, but I mean, you can have something that's pretty close to perfect. So,
Damn, 1.9, that's high.
Anytime you find a nice smooth vodka that's not gonna like make you do the bitter face when you're drinking it, it's a good vodka.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
1.9. Well, you guys have wine, liquor. I brought a beer since we are getting into that Oktoberfest season.
Oh, very nice.
And since Emily is from Texas, well, are you originally from Texas?
Yep, born and raised in San Antonio, actually.
I love San Antonio.
Oh, well then this one says it's the first to can craft in Texas. I don't know if that's true or not, but this is Too Hard, Too Fast, and we don't check facts.
You never check the labels anyways. So
we are recording during Texas's first game day, and you went to UT, so I went really cheesy on everything.
I love it. Oh yes, I didn't notice the hat.
Super cheesy. I am a UT fan. That's why I wanted to go to college before I ended up going with this guy over here.
Where did you guys go?
We went to Our Lady of the Lake University.
Very
here
nice.
in San Antonio.
Yes,
so I'm sorry, I keep cutting you off.
I keep cutting you off.
It's Zoom. That's how it works. It's just there's no rules and there's no respect on it. It's just everybody going for it. So yeah, I ended up at Our Lady of the Lake University, but here, cheers to UT.
Cheers for having me.
And Larry is in Austin. We should say that.
I'm in Austin right now. I live in Austin. So yes. So
cheers. Thank you guys for having me. I'm excited.
Cheers. All right. It's not bad. It kind of tastes like river water, though. It's not gonna bad taste. I like river water. I don't know.
Like actual river water?
Yeah, like kind of like maybe it's because I was drinking a little bit of whiskey before it, so now my palate is a little messed up. Nice. So I like it, but it's $2.49 for one can, so it's a little pricey for one can.
What do you rate it from 1 to 2?
Ooh, Emily. It's a 6.2% beer alcohol content, so I'm gonna go with a 1.58. No. Oh, I already said it. I gotta keep it. I remembered about the alcohol content being kind of high, but no, 1.5 is fair enough because $2.50 for a beer can. Ooh, and I bought 2 of them. Came out a little pricey. There's the reviews, the Too Hard, Too Fast reviews. Emily, one thing I know about San Antonio, I'm not raised here in I wasn't born or raised here in San Antonio. I'm from a border town. But one thing that San Antonio people ask is, what high school did you go to?
Oh yeah.
Went to Churchill High School. So go Chargers, Dub C for life.
Larry's from here, from San Antonio. So Larry, what do you think? Larry, what school did you go to?
Not bad. I went to Holy Cross. I was a West Side private school kid.
Is it Catholic school?
Yeah, it's a Catholic school on the west side of San Antonio. So Pride of the West Side, that's what they call it. So
El Hueso.
Yeah, some of George's and watchers were alumni of there too. So I'm sure when they hear me say Pride of the West Side, they're at home going, yeah. So there you go.
When you say watchers, that sounds weird too, though. By the way, and just like I should look out my window.
Your voyeur.
Hey, I'm watching USA. I'm right here.
Your video voyeur. There you go.
All right, Emily, what got you into being a chef?
That's a loaded question. So I'll start with way back when I was a dancer. So I was a dancer since I was 2 years old. Did all of the genres. So jazz, ballet, hip hop was my favorite though. So I still can use those skills at the club, which I'm thankful for. But I was a dancer, made it up to the collegiate level, actually danced for UT for 1 year. But the year before, I was at UTSA, so I got to do school here for a year, and I loved it. When I got to UT, the dance team became a little bit toxic, a little bit manipulative, something that I wasn't used to as a dancer. And so long story short, I did not know how to take care of my body being a dancer. So I ended up getting an eating disorder, developing an eating disorder, which is actually pretty common being out of the dancing world now and doing my research and seeing how many women share the same story as me. So a lot more common than you think. Ended up having a bad relationship with food. And once I got out of the dance team, I kind of had a loss of identity. And I really thought and sat to myself and just kind of pondered on what could be my new identity. How can I get myself out of this funk, out of this depression? And through recovery, I found plant-based eating. So I'm a vegetarian, which I know is rare for Texas. But I know I tell that to everybody, and they're like, but why? There's barbecue. I'm like, yeah, no. Trust me, my dad lets me know every single day. But yeah, so I had a vegan roommate, and she cooked a lot, and she loved food a lot, and I could tell. And that was something that was rare to me in that time of college in the past 4 years. And so I saw this love of food that she had, and I was like, wow, I want to try this out and see maybe if this can help me, if this can heal me. And so I started cooking plant-based, and just the creativity of it and the love that goes into preparing your food, I feel like is, of course, there's people put love into any types of food that they prepare. But for me, I found a true love preparing plant-based foods and vegetarian and vegan food. So I completely clung to that. My mental health, physical health flipped 180 degrees. I ended up being obsessed with plant-based eating, obsessed with like mental and physical, spiritual health and wellness. And so once I graduated from UT, I was like, well, I don't like my major, so I guess I'm going to go be a chef, which nobody ever likes their major in college. So luckily I had something that I was passionate about that I found pretty early. So I went to culinary school in New York City. It's a boutique culinary school called the Natural Gourmet Institute, but now it's part of ICE, and did culinary school there for a little bit, and then went straight into the restaurants, which was not what I expected to do after culinary school. I thought I was just going to be a private chef, but got thrown into the restaurants, and I loved it. And after about 2 months cooking professionally, I got a call from a random person saying, hey, do you want to be on Hell's Kitchen? And I was like, is this a scam?
Yeah, first thing I would have thought of too is
I don't think that you want me. I promise. I'm a vegetarian chef who's been cooking for 2 months. So
well, how did they find out about you?
I'm sorry?
How did they find out? Or like,
they found me on LinkedIn, which is another very random way to find me. So I remember I got a message saying, hey, like all caps, casting for Hell's Kitchen. And I never really watched Hell's Kitchen growing up, but I, of course, knew of it, and I knew of Gordon Ramsay. So I sent in my headshots and my pictures, and then they sent me out to, I remember they sent me out to LA for the final interview, and I was stuck in my hotel room for a little bit. And I remember calling my mom, and my mom also is just like typical mom, has anxiety about her kids leaving her and being by themselves. Called her, and I was like, they haven't come to get me yet. I haven't done any interviews yet. I think this is like, what if this is like a sex trafficking scam?
that's exactly what everything. I hate to meet like random people. I don't do Craigslist like or sell anything online, because I'm like, nah, I'm not about to get kidnapped, even though nobody's gonna want to kidnap me or even like physically probably even be capable, but at the same time
you never know the creeps that are in this world right now. So if it was sex trafficking, props to them, because they went like all around out of their way to make it seem really legit. But my mom called the hotel and was like, is this real? Is this happening? They're like, yes. So after that that intrusive thought was out of the way. I was like, okay, I guess this is a real thing. I guess I should start believing in myself, my abilities as a baby chef. So that was the long story short of me in my career and what's happened so far. Back 2 long years ago. It's crazy. It was so long ago that happened.
I saw that you had your degree was kinesiology and health, and so I was thinking, okay, well maybe that's where like the plant-based stuff comes in, like, and then also where the shift to being a chef. But my brother did kinesiology, and he's he works in the NFL. So I was like, how does that, like, I don't understand where one chooses this route and the other person chooses to be a chef.
Yeah,
but I guess you have to, like,
he actually followed through and is doing something cool with that. So that's awesome. Yeah, I honestly chose kinesiology because my sister, who's 3 years older than me, was at UT, a kinesiology major. And so I was like, I just want to go to UT, so I guess I'll pick this major. And I tried to be a fitness instructor for a little bit. I was a kickboxing instructor for 3 years. And then I realized that I don't want to have to work out for my job. It was too much working out. I was like, I want to leisurely go to the gym when I want to. I don't want to have to teach this. And so I realized that wasn't for me. But the people who are in that major the classes were really hard. The professions that they go to after when they graduate are awesome. It just wasn't something that was for me.
Fair enough. Larry, what's your excuse? I'm just kidding.
I was like, am I supposed to answer that?
I was kidding, Larry. So again, with the plant-based, well, actually, I want to go, if you don't mind, talking a little bit more about your eating disorder, because when you mentioned that it's a common thing, do you mean it's a common thing like in general or like within the dance community?
Both. So I don't know really percentages, but doing some research on it, because that's something that I'm also extremely passionate about, is spreading awareness on eating disorders and mental health disorders and spreading body positivity, because especially with social media being such a big thing now, I noticed that girls are comparing themselves to these unattainable standards. So mostly women have all experienced some sort of body dysmorphia, body image problems, which I'm sure you have heard of, just people talk about because people are a lot more open now. But as well as men also experience a lot of eating disorders, body dysmorphia, but especially in the dance world or any sort of top tier athletic kind of vibe of an organization.
Just because of that expectation, like the body's supposed to look a certain way so they can move a certain way.
Yeah, like of course you're supposed to be able to move and do like high kicks and twirls and leaps and all that sort of stuff. And that was something that was always known. Like if we're getting like trigger warning, if anybody has an eating disorder is struggling with that right now. But growing up as a dancer, everybody was pretty thin. Everybody was fit and could move. And that was just something that we didn't think about. But going into a team where it was kind of out in the open, where they said, all right, you need to be this weight. And there was talk about people back like 5 years ago that they just changed, where you had to weigh yourself in order to compete. And BMIs were a thing, and BMIs aren't really accurate given how, strong people are now, like muscle of athletes, and they don't count that in. And so there's just a lot of factors that are in these elite dance teams, and as well as like volleyball, any sort of like women figure skating, any sort of women's sport, and men, because I don't want to count out men because it happens to them too. But yeah, it's very present, and multiple women on the dance team that I was on also struggled with eating disorders and body dysmorphia and all that. So it was a big mess.
And well, I'm glad. Well, you're saying men, and I kind of want to talk about that as well. And at full transparency, I wasn't sure. I saw somewhere about your eating disorder, and I didn't want to bring it up unless you wanted to talk about it.
Yeah.
And so because the thing here with Too Hard Too Fast, yeah, we're having fun, and I want to enjoy this whole conversation. And the one thing I forget to mention is that I do want to talk about important topics that may help somebody out in the future. and we'll cut the seriousness with some really messed up jokes or hopefully funny jokes.
Totally.
But if we can help somebody today, at least one person, that's a win.
Yeah.
So when you mention the guys, like I feel like sometimes we forget about the guys, because at least for my Hispanic side, for my Mexican side, I grew up with, you're a guy, you're supposed to be fat, you're good, like you're good, like guys are supposed to be fat for some reason. I don't know why. Like it's you're eating well, it's a sign of you're living well.
Yeah.
And then the women are supposed to be pretty, but that's in general, not just because of men, but pretty and healthy and always working, doing, I don't know, but it's like it gives us an excuse for the extra love here.
And I agree with you, because it's different in every culture, right? Which makes it crazy why there are these expectations on us globally, because in every single culture, there's a different way and a different vision on how we're supposed to look. And so thank you for sharing that, because that's very interesting. I think I kind of can relate, because I have a family who came from a generation where they had to be the clean plate club. So they had to finish every single thing that was on their plate, or else it was disrespectful. And that is also, it's a balance. It's either too extreme or too extreme on the other end. And here we are growing up in this generation. We're like, I don't know, like how to eat, because everybody's telling me something different. My culture, society, these stupid TikToks, like just too much information. And so what I have found is, I don't know if you guys have heard of intuitive eating.
No.
So it's very, the reason why I think it's not very mainstream is because they don't make money off of this. It's not like a diet plan where they can sell these pills or they sell these recipes or diets. It's basically, it was founded by two registered dietitians who specialize in eating disorders. And it's basically just focusing, this is kind of hippie as well, so bear with me. But
it's okay. He's in Austin, so he's used to it.
In Austin, so you're
I can totally relate. Anything you tell me that has to do with hippiness, I can relate. So
yes.
It's fine.
Yes, I love it. So it's this way of living where you really tune in to your body and you listen to your body, and you reject all diet culture, all anybody's been telling you of go diets, and you really just listen to your hunger cues, and without any sort of outside influence. So and no food is off limits. So when I was in recovery, I found this, and the first rule was reject diet mentality, eat whatever you want. And I was like, oh, okay. So I got a whole bag of Oreos. But later on, the further on I read, it was you shouldn't be emotionally eating either. Or, I mean, it's totally fine if you do, but you should be listening to your body and being oh, why am I doing that? So it's kind of opening up the conversation of it's okay to eat whatever you want, but make sure that you're mindful doing it, and make sure that you're loving yourself and providing yourself with gentle nutrition while you're doing it. So it was a completely different concept that I found when I was in recovery, and I think everybody should pick up the book. There's a book called Intuitive Eating by those two dietitians, and tell me if I'm talking too much, because this is what I'm really passionate about.
No, go ahead. This is what I want to learn about this.
Yeah, so that's how I found recovery. Also the love of cooking, of course, but just kind of letting myself eat like a normal person again. And that includes sometimes overeating, sometimes being hungry. We're not perfect, and we shouldn't have to put ourselves to these standards of these diets where we're trying to starve ourselves and then later overeat. It's just craziness.
But it's funny you mentioned that, because in terms of really, like the way you said, listening to your body and doing, listening to your body and what makes your body happy, as opposed to maybe not always doing what's best for your body, but you're doing that with a good intention.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just explaining to somebody the other day, I've I've struggled with that too. At one point, 5-6 years ago, to make a personal decision to go on this fitness journey. So, wound up losing about 60 pounds, going to the gym 5 days a week. I just told somebody, I felt like I was eating plates of grass 10 times a day, and you realize like, okay, I look good, but then you look in the mirror and you're like, I look good, but I'm not happy. Mm-hmm. You're not happy because you get so caught up in, like the way you said, in what society wants you to look like, in what you get told, in the same way that women get told that they should look like, men get told the same thing too sometimes. And I might agree to disagree with George. And sometimes, like, yes, in certain cultures, the bigger you are, in some cultures, the more meat you have on your bones, the better off you've been in your life just far, meaning you can actually afford to eat, in some societies. And I think from my perspective, it's a little bit more like, well, a guy needs to look, jacked and needs to like 6-pack and do this and that. So you chase that dream and you're not there, but you're getting on that road. But then you're like, this isn't my road. Like, I got to get off. I got to get on the on-ramp. It's okay to have the Oreos. It's okay to, and as an avid stress eater, I can definitely relate to that too, where you're just like, yeah, like you have a bad day, you open the pantry and you just, whatever's there. It's just, yeah. You talk about the bag of Oreos, like I've done that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The bag of Oreos and a measuring cup of milk, and you sit there and you're like, I'm just gonna get through this day. Like, I just got to finish this day off. So,
and sometimes that's what you need, especially this past year with the COVID and the pandemic. It's just a lot of people have gained weight and have been really hard on themselves about it. Me too. I mean, I was stuck in my parents' house for a year. Of course I was going to gain weight and emotionally. But yeah, and people are so hard on themselves. And now that we're kind of getting out of it a little bit, knock on wood, people are like, okay, well, time to lose all the weight immediately and, be hard on myself about gaining this weight. It's like, no, like your body goes through these changes because it's in response to an environment that was hard. Like, that was a hard environment. Maybe you needed to gain a little bit of weight. Maybe you needed to emotional eat a little bit, but of course it's temporary. It's not going to last forever. You are going to get back on the wagon or whatever they call it and be more balanced. It's just,
well, we don't like talking about getting on the wagon on here because, that means quitting alcohol, and we don't like to do that.
Yeah. I apologize because I never say get on the
wagon. But that's funny. It's I did.
It's a crooked wagon. It's a crooked wagon.
You're on and off.
It drifts every now and then.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned. Well, it's not funny that you mentioned that, but the fact that you mentioned, this past year, I had a realization at the beginning of the summer, and full. I don't even say full transparency. And I was about to say it for the second time too. It's no secret that I am a special ed teacher. We talked about this, my real life outside of the podcast. That's what I do. So when we shut down, when everything shut down, stuck for 6 months, not knowing what to do and just sitting around, I felt like I really dove into the podcast and this is what I wanted to build. But building on it, I then realized, I am hitting a little bit of the too hard, too fast, too much. And it finally hit in June, maybe May, where I made the realization. I was like, I don't feel good. Like, I don't feel good at all. And I need to make a change. And so I went sober for like the summer, which is, everybody thinks it's crazy because it's like, it's your summer. Like, I had just finished like the first year of teaching with COVID and all that craziness. And you're about to, have your summer where everything seems like it's opening up and we're ready to have some fun, and you're about to like go on this cleanse. I was like, I have to do it. And I went for it and I felt good, but it was just it was a situation where I felt like I needed to feel better.
Yeah. And that's awesome, because that's another part of the intuitive eating is if you're not feeling good, maybe you had like a hamburger on Monday and you also had a hamburger on Tuesday and you're not feeling good, then you check back in, you're like, oh, maybe I'm eating too much of this kind of food that makes me feel bad, or I'm drinking too much. I do that all the time. Like, sometimes I love alcohol. So
you're on the right show.
Yeah, my parents are like huge winos. I love just like going to a bar with friends. But there are times where I'm the same way. I'm like, oh man, I do not feel good. And I am sleeping all day. I need to cut back. So I love that you do that sometimes too. And just like take a reset and try to balance a little bit, because I feel like we get too excited about the fun things in life sometimes.
And also, I haven't heard the word winos in such a long time. So long. I love it. That is awesome.
The boomer word.
I don't know if it is or not, but I remember, I think when I first heard it, I was in high school. And I should say, you're probably a lot younger than I am, and definitely a lot younger than Larry. I'm 34, 35, I forget.
Uh-huh.
Larry, you're 47?
Nope, I'm 35.
35. Emily, how old are you? Because you were on season 20 and it's called the Young Guns. So obviously it's meant up the fact that you guys are younger chefs.
When I filmed the show, I was 22. Now I'm 25.
Okay. Oh, wow. So it's a big, a long turnaround from when they first filmed it.
I did a lot of growing up in between, in between waiting for the show to air.
Come out.
Yeah, definitely.
That's crazy because, well, not to drop names or anything or other names, but we had Mary Lou on the show, and well, that's where we somehow had her on. We had her on first when it was like very early on in the show, in the season, and then we had her again after the show was over, and she can talk more freely about it. And so I didn't make the realization until I was editing the first time she was on, and I was looking for clips, and there was a clip that showed the actual last episode of the season when we weren't even halfway through the episode. I was like, what is this? So I messaged Emily. I messaged Mary Lou. I go, hey, is this? She goes, I can't say anything about it, but yeah, it was filmed a while back. It was filmed like 2 years ago. So same situation with you. It was filmed way before.
I think the season 19, which was Mary Lou's season, was filmed 3 weeks before our season. So, or I don't know, I'm just throwing around numbers, but right after they stopped, we came in and we filmed the season. So back to back.
Wow. It's almost like they knew everything was going to shut down.
I know, right?
Big reveal.
Yeah. They were behind the COVID.
Oh,
spoiler alert.
Were you worried that it wasn't going to come out or at all?
Total. Oh, yeah. I'm in a group message with all of the season 20 chefs, and every single day we were like, I think that we just dreamed of this. I think that this is, I think we were just like in some sort of, what's that movie where they're all hooked up to a machine?
Oh, man. I'm really bad.
Matrix?
The Matrix. We're like, well, I think we're all in the Matrix right now because it didn't seem real. And it was so depressing because everybody like had to stop working because they're all restaurant chefs. And luckily my parents, I was in New York at the time and I moved back to Texas. And luckily my parents were like, yes, you can come stay with us again. It was just a big mess for chefs at the time. So we were just like, dude, we need this show. Like we need something that we can like cling on to and see the light at the end of the tunnel. So definitely there were times where we were like, I don't think this happened.
Yeah, that's crazy to think that, regardless of what you think the show's going to do for you, just knowing that the show is a big deal and then it's not coming out and you're kind of like, I want that boost that the show promises, especially with somebody like you that made it into the top 7 and anybody that made it after that, you guys have this promise of exposure to whether it's, I don't know, nowadays social media fame, but also now it can also push you in the fact to let people know that you're a legit chef. You know what you're doing in the kitchen.
Yeah. And I think what makes it so important is that there's this kind of, what's the word? Just way of chefs where everybody is in a hierarchy And I remember when I was applying to jobs, it was like, oh, well, you need about 10 years of experience of being a chef before you can do anything worthwhile. And it's like, whoa, I understand the training, but 10 years? Like, I have to be a line cook that makes minimum wage for 10 years. Like, I don't like that. So having something like Hell's Kitchen to put on your resume or say that you did. But the thing that I was just most looking forward to was just to be able to share my experience, because I think I'm a huge competition reality show person. Like, I've seen all of the competition reality shows just because those people are so inspiring. I love hearing their stories. And so I wanted to be that person to be like, this was my story. I've done this. I've waited 2 years to talk about it, but I've done it. And you too, you know.
I'm a huge fan of reality TV too, so hardcore.
What's your favorite?
I've always wanted to be in the real world, but since now obviously they don't do that, like my dream is still not, I don't know if it's still to be, but I would love to see how I would do in the MTV challenge.
Oh, the fitness one?
Yeah, like obviously I need to get back into shape, but into A shape or something. But I would love to see if I can do the whole mind game stuff and like alliances and all that. Like, yeah, I would love to see if I can, how well I would do or not do.
You don't want to do any rope challenges, is what you're saying.
Oh, don't put me on ropes. I can't climb a rope for nothing.
I'll never be able to do that.
Even when I was like at my most fit, I could never climb a rope. So no way. But that's my favorite. What's your favorite?
My favorite?
And you can't say Hell's Kitchen.
Oh, no. Hell's Kitchen. But before I tell my favorite, I want to know, would you be like the villain of the show, or would you be like the miscongeniality of the show?
See, I feel like I would be the one that is friends with everybody, but at the end of the show, everybody figures out that I was just fucking over everybody. Yeah, I feel like that's how I would be, unfortunately. Like, because I feel like I can connect with people, but when it comes down to like realizing that it's a competition, then it's all, free for all too.
Those get the most screen time too, so it's good TV.
Yeah, but then again, I feel like my political game would just destroy itself real quick, and I probably would just end up on the couch eating hot Cheetos, and I would get eliminated real quick.
Yeah, I don't think.
Or you're drunk and you realize you made an alliance with the wrong person, and you're like, "Oh no,
yes. That would be my downfall. Is saying something's like, "Yeah, I got your back, bro. I got your back." Fuck this guy, right? Fuck, and then talking to them at the same time or something. Yeah.
I've never seen that show. I need to go watch it now. But
oh man,
I need to go watch it. I think my show, actually, without a question, my reality show that I would love to be on is RuPaul's Drag Race.
Yes.
Yeah. I have a drag name already. Like, I was
drag name.
Okay. My drag name is Rosie Rosenthorn, because number one, I'm Jewish, so you have to do a Rosenthorn at the end. Number two, I love pink wigs, so I need a wig that's going to be, or a name that's going to be like pink or like rose, So that's my.
Larry, since you're doing drag names, what is yours?
My drag name? I don't know. I feel like I always come up with them and then I forget them. I saw one that I think it's already a drag name, like somebody. So I'm sorry if I'm infringing on anybody's copyright, but I just think I saw one the other day. It was like rigor mortis, and I was like, I don't know why. I just think that's a great, like, it's so funny, like rigor mortis. I mean, I don't know. There's so many good drag names out there. I feel like it's really hard to top them nowadays. Like some of them are so like since you like drag race, my favorite drag queen is Jiggly Caliente. Like, she is my favorite. And she's funny, and it's the name.
Yeah.
Like, it's the name. And even though she's like going through a fitness journey right now, so she's really skinny, it's like, no, you're still Jiggly Caliente. Like, it all works out okay. So
you have to always be jiggly if you're going to be Jiggly Caliente.
Yeah, for sure. But
Even if
know.
it's just the mindset.
Right. George, what's your drag name?
I'm on the same boat. I feel like I always come up with them. But I remember I don't know if I texted you or I texted somebody else, but I said I finally got this name, and I really was real proud, thinking that I came up with something super original. And I texted it, and I can't remember what it was, but I remember the text came back, and it was B. That's already taken. And I was like, oh crap! I was like, I thought it was super original on it, and but I really had thought about joining. I've never said this before, but I've talked to one of my friends. We were thinking of ideas because I had this other YouTube channel that I had started, which was called Positive Impact, and we would try to go and immerse ourselves into with somebody in the community that's making a positive impact and try to do what they're doing and tell the story. And so one of the things was we should do something for the gay pride that's here in San Antonio. And I was telling my story, or this one guy, I was telling him about the one time I went to the gay pride parade, and that this drag queen called me out for being there. She's like I don't know how it went, but it came out. She was like, "Hi, honey," whatever, and I ended up saying, "Oh no, I'm not gay." And so she or I don't, the drag queen was like, "Well, what are you doing here?" And I go, "I'm just supporting my friends." And so she goes, "We don't need your support, honey. We need you to come on stage and shake that." I was just like, I'm sorry. I don't know what I'm doing. And so I was telling that story to my friend. He goes, "Dude, it would be so fun if you did that for like the YouTube channel, like just became a drag queen and like showed how like all the work." Because another friend of ours like was actually a drag queen for a while. And like, it takes a lot of work to do that, and all the makeup, and then to walk in high heels if you're not able to, and all that craziness to just showcase that. So I thought it would be a cool idea. So since then, I've always been trying to come up with drag queen names, and they never stick, or they're never original.
I would be your number one fan if you did that for your YouTube.
I'd go watch. Go watch.
I would watch. I actually need that advice because when I tried to be a drag queen for Halloween, I tried to block my brows, like cover them up. And I tried so many times with the Elmer's glue, and it wouldn't do anything. It wouldn't cover them up. I'm like, I feel like you have to have a special.
You put glue on your eyebrow?
Yeah.
But I think their secret is that they use the blue Elmer's glue. That's what I've seen a lot of them. Oh, you use the blue? It's funny.
Have what it takes.
It didn't rip off your eyebrows at all? Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm really new to this.
During COVID, I don't know how I wound up on them. Like during COVID, there's these like 24-hour days where you just like, I don't sleep, because why are you going to go to sleep? You're not going to do anything the next day. So you go through these cycles and you go through the YouTube hole. And I wound up starting to watch like drag queen makeup tutorials, which I'm never going to do it, but I was telling one of my friends, and he's like, "Why would you watch that?" I'm like, "I challenge you to watch one and not watch a second one." And then he texts me like 6 hours later. He's like, "I've been watching these all day. They're amazing." And I'm like, yes, like it's a talent. It's a gift. Like I give props to any man or woman or anybody that can do that. Like it's a thing. Mm-hmm. So
my mom actually took me aside one day during quarantine and told me I was watching too much Drag Race. Emily, you're watching she doesn't know the name of it. She's like, "You're watching the drag queens way too much. Like, why don't you read a book or something?" I'm like, "Mom, because they're helping me with my depression in quarantine. Like, please let me have this."
It's the only place where you can get some good one-liners, like anywhere, like even if you're at home. Well, hopefully, I don't know if some of them are like mom appropriate, but there are always good one-liners there too.
Probably not. She can handle it.
So now I'm trying to think about what I'm going to name this episode. Since we've totally, in true Too Hard Too Fast fashion, we've gone off the rails, and I love it. So I kind of want to bring it up. I'll bring it a little bit back to on the rails, back on the wagon. If we're going to throw that out there again, a little bit on and off. I want to go back to like the whole being a plant-based chef, because it's super interesting, because on the show you're cooking with meat and protein. And so one time my wife, she became vegan for a while.
Mhm.
And it sucked for me a lot. And I was only like 80% vegan, meaning I ate meat on the weekends. All right, 2H2Fers, we're having a great time with Emily Hersh, Chef Emily Hersh. And I know we're going off the rails, but we're going to eventually hit season 20, Young Guns of Hell's Kitchen. We're going to talk about our experience there. But there was a really important conversation we had to have regarding eating disorders. And I really appreciate the sincerity with that. So, but with that said, we're going to pause the conversation, come back Thursday, and we're going to continue the conversation. Larry's going to be the guest co-host still. Thank you for doing this, Larry. What do you have to say?
Thursday, I was told this was a one-night engagement. And also, when do I get paid?
Don't break the fourth wall, Larry. And with that said, dare be you, dare be weird. We'll come back.
No. When do I get paid?
We'll come back Thursday. Larry, you're gonna be here, right? You're gonna be here, Larry. We'll see you guys on Thursday. Bye.
I didn't get a Venmo.